welcome to another episode of Bonzology. Okay, so this is sort of the people's choice angle. At least the majority.
See, I'm trying to keep the swear words down.
Yeah.
In case we go network.
Okay. Well, we can always bleep them out.
Dude, that's a gong and a half.
Hey, folks.
Here we are at Casa del Jorge.
That's it. Mi casa es su casa.
In Shiastanas.
So, what do we got?
We just want to open up with something just fun, get the balls rolling. Remember, we got to
Okay.
talk louder like Will Ferrell.
Right. So we got a new mic setup. You want to tell them about it?
Yes. So we have here MXL V250, just like at my house. Same board. He's got a smaller channel, but same board, same pre's. He's got a higher quality stand that I'm envious of. And so this is really the first video we're making with the new system here. And he's playing. I had a chance to really play the drums a few minutes ago. That Speed King to me is almost unplayable. So I imagine how George would sound on a properly lubricated Speed King. All right, carry on, my friend.
Yeah, I guess I'm a sucker for punishment with this thing.
No,
Oh my God.
But you know what's good? What it does is it keeps your foot up to. It's like swinging a baseball bat with a donut on it.
Yeah, it is.
And then when you go to your gig and you
Only you don't go to bat with the donut on it, do you? Yeah. Anyway, I got a Tama Camco chain drive
Those are the
over
golden.
there, and that's what I like to use normally on gigs, but
Me too, George.
just for the sake of keeping things
I have
somewhat authentic. Okay, so we did. Thank you.
That was tasteful.
So much for that.
Yeah.
So much for that profanity clause.
There you go.
So let's see. What did I do? I did a couple solo videos.
You did a la 77 Sick again.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I'd like to do the whole tour. Just run it down.
Dude,
so
that'd be
my
mad.
goal is to do one tune a week. So we already got Song Remains the Same, and I did Sick Again actually first. So a lot of sequence there.
Right.
So the next tune is going to be Nobody's Fault But Mine.
Nobody's fault but yours.
Yes, Nobody's Fault But Yours. And look for that next week.
Look for that next week, oh fans.
Actually, it'll be just over a week, because I'm going to be in New York for a few days next week. Yeah, so sometime after February 18th, I'm going to put out a Nobody's Fault But Mine solo performance. But I thought maybe we could talk about Sick Again, right?
Let's do it right now, Sick Again.
There's some stuff in there that...
Especially the Robert Plant seated vocal at the end of the studio recording.
Oh, yeah.
That's very clever on their part.
Right. Now, the studio recording, again, is pretty different from the live recording.
Absolutely. So you want to stick with live a little now?
I think so, because
let's do that.
remember, it opens with, in 77, they opened it with the Rover
The Rover,
intro,
yes. Okay.
you know, which was kind of like you could hear the guitar lick, but it's like, you know.
That's our favorite. That's
Or
the same,
something.
That's
or
the
something
same
thereof.
fill we were doing before, going back and forth with the
Yeah.
bass drum.
That kind of idea, right?
Yeah, like before, A Whole Lot of Love in 73, a little bit of that sort of thing going on. With
Yeah.
It's a Moby Dick, that whole Dazed Confused sort of tribal thing with Moby Dick, that whole high right, left foot thing going on with the hands sort of buttering everything up.
He loves it.
He
loves
does.
it, yeah. So, but the fill that I played in there is something that he often does, which is kind of rip-roaring. You know, he does this kind of thing. It's like... Right?
Now,
Know what I'm talking about?
how are you sticking that?
That's all single strokes.
Okay, but
starting with the right
Are there any
hand.
pauses in there?
So it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So in tempo would be this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the thing with him is he's always playing. He likes ghost notes, you know, the little kind of fluffy bits in between. So it's more, really to articulate it right. It's more like this. Rather than, it's not so rigid, so it's like. That's actually what he plays on Eddie.
Okay.
That's what he plays on Eddie.
Okay. Now, so what you essentially sort of changed there earlier in the section here is that it's really 5 that are accented, but there is a 6th note with your left hand that isn't played very loudly at all. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Let's see. So, yeah, that left hand stroke is
so
almost
1,
like
2,
a ghost
3,
note.
4,
Yeah.
5, 6.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And your snare sounding absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
It really is, man.
I love this baby.
All right, so here we are. So right now, what we've done is we started to go through the door of Rovery into Sick Again.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And now, as far as that groove goes, we could, talk about what he actually plays.
Right.
You know.
You want to primarily stick
Have you
with
done a video on that beat? I think you have, right?
for Sick Again in general?
Yeah, Sick
yes,
Again.
Yeah, I do have one,
Okay.
I think, somewhere.
So we could just
No,
we could
do it anyway. No, do it
So
anyway.
this thing. Let's see. Yes. Right. So the key there is just to get from the bell on this. And that lands on beat 1.
And there's no bass drum underneath that hi-hat.
No.
It's just
in
the
between.
hi-hat.
Yeah.
Now, for everybody, that is a great exercise. George will loop it again in a minute. That's a great exercise just to do for that song, but just in general, it's a great exercise. Right?
It is, yeah, because it's a little bit of an off-kilter beat.
Yeah, you kind of got to get used to each foot move with the bass drum and also opening the hat and moving your arm back. So it's a thing to practice balancing on the throne a little.
It is, yeah, because so you got.
Nice.
And if we skip to the end, that's basically the beat he's playing throughout the end.
Yeah.
Only he's not going to the hi-hat
To the
anymore.
hi-hat.
On the studio recording, he just simply goes. Yeah, that's it. So the thing I think a lot of people probably want to know about are those fills. Yes. You know, when it goes to that next section.
Exactly.
Dig it down, 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 down. Now, this is a good point to bring up.
I want to maybe slide that bass drum over just a teeny bit to the right.
You mean the floor tom?
Yes.
Yeah.
The floor tom. Just in case, because people do clamor for a view of you right.
Yeah. So, So in the studio version, he's basically crashing the cymbal with the bass drum.
Yeah, bum, bum, bum,
and then he plays a quick roll, and then he goes back to the quarter notes crashing on the.
And that's
on the
right
cymbal.
at the head of when that part starts.
Yes.
Getting into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that point, it's kind of like. Sorry. So it's like. That's the first one, right?
Yeah.
And then the next one is, boy, it's hard to think of this out of context.
Totally out of context.
So then the next one is so. Right. So into that section.
Into that section.
So on the live version, he actually plays a different fill usually. So I was doing the 77 version. He usually does this. So let me get my bearings on the tune.
Take your time.
So
take your time.
do you know my name? Do you, right? Da 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 da.
That's so cool. I love that like late 70s Bonham thing where you do those triplets.
Yeah.
And just like you play him, you make him look. He did too. He'd make him look so effortless, like at Networth and stuff, and you do it.
But
right
it's
here.
actually a lot. It's kind of harder than it would seem.
Well, because you got to move your hands so much out of them.
Yeah.
You pull them out of that
It's
comfort
simple
zone.
enough. It's just this. Only he's alternating between cymbals, and it's hard for me to tell. Although I think on Networth you could see what he's doing.
Yeah,
and I can't remember
pretty
if he's going between these two or just. So the path of least resistance is to crash off of the ride.
Yeah.
You know.
Part of the thing is I know for more beginners or Bonham beginners or anybody beginner is also too synchronizing that bass drum up with the exact same time you're hitting those crashes.
Right.
That's important.
Yeah. So that's something to practice slowly. You know?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's not get carried away.
Alrighty.
Okay.
No,
so,
right,
but
exactly.
that's basically a breakdown of that fill.
Exactly.
And again, live, he almost always plays that little kind of Stairway to Heaven, this one. He almost always plays that in 77.
I think sometimes he'd use those two, as any drummer would. Like, a good thing about Copeland, you hear Copeland when he play later in sets and stuff, when he do really sometimes cool stuff that sounds like it's a lot of energy, is ironically a breath catcher.
Uh-huh.
But if you just do this, it's a good time to catch your breath at.
Yeah.
It is.
Right. Get ready for that big one that's about to.
Right,
yeah.
I think. Yeah. All right, so carry on.
So that's it, and then later in the tune, that point comes again, and
still live, still adding.
yeah. So we're talking about like the 77 version, and what he does there, usually, is he plays this. To the groove. So that's basically it. So that's just he's riding that out.
The sweep, I call that the sweep.
Oh yeah.
So that's trademarked by me. So we can continue to still call that the sweep at a pretty
TMTK Terry
TKM
Mark.
And by the way, we're gonna call you Bonzolium. No, we're gonna call you Britannica of Bonham. I gotta tell you, it's amazing. There are so many times. I was saying this from my friend Ryan, who you gotta meet. Great drummer. I'm gonna have him in a video about technique. How there are so many times you'll talk about a song, you'll be like, Terry, like in Dallas 75, September 39th, where Bonzo does
That's because I'm kind of ADHD.
Well, do you notice how sometimes
I jump from,
But you know how I go like this
tune
though?
to tune,
Yeah. Well, 90% of the time I'm like...
You're like Bill Murray in the Greek cheeseburger sketch when Buck Henry's making the order.
Yeah, like,
he says, I want the onions grilled, not raw, and I want the...
Are you ready?
Man, you know your shit better than
you're
most
the guru.
anyone.
Okay, well that was terrific though. So those paradigms, I think what we should do again is the last thing we talked about in the last 4 minutes. Remember how you did those things? You did the thing, and you did the slams, and then you did the sweeps. Can you do that whole pattern again at regular speed, maybe once or twice, and then maybe do it the third time a little slower.
Sure.
And then break it down. Talk about the whole thing is doing it slow. Plus, two people do have on YouTube a little gearbox where you can put it down.
Right, that's important to note because a lot of people have been asking to slow it down. The only thing about using the speed feature on YouTube, it can be found at the bottom right corner where you have the option to change the quality.
Yeah, it's like the settings wheel.
Yeah, it's like a little settings wheel, and you could change the video quality. You can also adjust the speed, normal, and you could accelerate the speed or you could decelerate.
And they have options. They have normal. I think they have 0.75,
Yeah, there's several.
At some point though, the sound goes away. I think at 0.25 the sound goes away, but half speed it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think it.
I thought there's a little bit of a compromise even at half speed.
And it
kind of sounds a little weird, but you can do that, But I can definitely do that.
Gotcha.
So again, what point are we at there? Let's see. Ding, 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 na, na, na. I'll start from that part.
Be comfortable. Do your thing.
Okay,
it's
so
important that you...
Okay, I played it a little differently that time because I didn't do as many sweeps as I should have.
But it was still smooth as butter. Okay.
One more time.
Now you take it where you...
I'm going to take it a little slower this time.
You're in charge of this part.
So
carry First off, you did that expertly. Not only that, a thing to point out that you do is, remember, after those sweeps, there's a crash on the bass drum with the, before it does the snare again. So, ba-da-da-boom, boom.
Correct.
So, you could loop that again and again if one wants to.
Now the last thing we should probably talk about in this tune is the very end of the song.
Yes.
When they go out repeating this figure. Yeah, I just crashed on beat 1 so everyone can identify where beat 1 is, but because they don't really play beat 1. 1 is in there, but there's no downbeat that the drums are playing.
Well, again, it's the turnaround. What I call in sort of a weird place.
Right.
And then it doesn't help later that Robert Plant seats a repeated vocal in a place that really relatively turns the whole thing around. Like when they do it live, I think that totally would throw Jimmy Page off. That
yeah, and sometimes, frankly, they do get lost at that point. I mean, it happens. It happens on some, if you listen to bootleg recordings, you'll hear where there are times where they become discombobulated, and when that happens, they usually find their way back. But one thing that can get tricky about the way he plays it live, especially in 77, and 75 and 77 actually, is he starts playing this kind of active drum fill playing that phrase, rather than just riding the cymbal like he does on the studio.
So with the excitement of the live show and stuff, he changes it.
Right, because Jimmy phrases it a little differently.
Too, yeah.
Jimmy starts going daga 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 dan 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 ga daga 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 dan 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 ga daga 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 dan 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 da 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 dan 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 one ba ba da ba da ba da ba 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 one da 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 da. So Bonzo's.
Let's
do it again. I'll count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oh shit!
Sorry.
I can't count.
Right,
1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
At the end of In My Time of Dying, what does Plant
say?
It gets pretty lonely.
All my cheeses.
Yeah, no, but
all my cheeses.
Nobody says it gets.
Doesn't he say cheeses?
Yeah, but he also says it gets pretty lonely up there. So what does he say? It gets pretty something up there. What does he say at the end? It's like the same, almost breathless.
Oh yeah.
It still goes on and on and on.
Pretty good up here.
Yeah, it feels pretty good up here. Yeah. It's almost like he expects.
But that's the same beats. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I just want to say, obviously, there's variations. Yeah. Bonzo is not like a real rigid player.
You're just giving us paradigm.
But although that's like stating the fucking obvious, I know everybody who's watching this loves BONHAM and is pretty familiar with his style and approach. So,
right. But also, there's that one fellow watching or some.
Yeah, I mean, BONHAM is not the.
That third one is wrong.
Well, he's not right. He's not the type. He always played differently. Jones always played differently.
They were true musicians.
Yeah, they were truly improvising and creating the music in the moment.
Exactly.
So even though that's the basic beat, from show to show, it really varies. Like sometimes he's going. Sometimes he might be going. Another time he might be going. And then the last thing I want to say about this tune is, usually they had a cue. With Jimmy would cue the last one.
Right.
Right, and then dun 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 dun. That's the last one. Bum 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 bum. Usually Bonzo would either play this, so the ending would be. Crashes, or sometimes he would go.
Now that's the Bonzo we know and love.
Yeah. The big fill.